Hi, I'm Trisha Anders, and this is the fifth in a series of videos called Reinventing Barbie. I will be reviewing today some things that I went over in previous videos, and I will be introducing another product option for you and giving you a challenge. So be sure if you like this video that you like and subscribe and join the Facebook group called Reinventing Barbie. As I have mentioned before, my favorite adhesive is the Zinsser brand adhesive, and it can be found at True Value or Ace Hardware. You can also order it off of Amazon. I use only the dry granules that come in a carton like this, and that carton should last you for about a year. Unless you're very prolific, in which case you are awesome, and you should buy 2 cartons. It's very cost effective, and it does though have a shelf life, so try to mix only as much as you need. I do about a cup at a time, and it will last for about 3 days before it starts to liquefy and lose its adhesive quality. So at that time, throw it out and start fresh. Okay, this is how I make the Zinsser wallpaper paste for the paper mache of your dolls. I have these little plastic containers that I purchased from the grocery store. They literally have measurement marks, so I can pour my water in right to the first 6 ounce amount, or if you don't have measurement marks, pour it into 1 cup of water and put it in your container. Take your Zinsser and sprinkle 1 thin layer on top. If you try to put a whole bunch at once, it will blob up and you'll have lumps. So you sprinkle your 1 thin layer, stir it up. The granules will start to fall down to the bottom, and you do it again. Another thin layer on top. Stir it up. Let the granules fall, and do it another time. I usually do about 3 times. Stir it up vigorously, and then put it aside and let it sit for 10 minutes. It will look like this when it has set up. Can you see that? You can go like this to see just how thick it is. This one's a little bit thick, so I'll add a little water. It's much easier to get the consistency you want by adding water than it is by adding granules. So this one actually needs even more water. So like I said, a thin layer 3 times, and it'll be just about right. So this I'll continue to stir it and see if it's at the consistency that I like and that I want to work with. And it's that simple. Have fun! So once your doll is papered and dry, you have the option to add texture or not. If you want texture, now would be the time to cover with fine sand, or you can prime it first with gesso if you prefer a white base to work on. The gesso also acts as an additional sealant, and I almost always use my most fine white sand on the face and a grittier sand on the body. I recently discovered a brand of sand when I was out thrift shopping called Treehouse Studio. I like it a lot. It comes in different colors, and you can get it right off of Amazon for a paltry $1.25 per jar. This is the jar I found. It's actually, this one was $2.49, so it's probably a little bit bigger than the one I saw on Amazon, but it works really well. So now you have your doll, and you need to use either white glue. Elmer's is fine. I like to use Mod Podge, and I paint it on with a brush. So you'll need sand, white glue, a brush, and a box to put your doll underneath. Then you your brush and apply a thin layer and even layer of glue in the area that you want to have covered. So I'll start right here on this torso. It's easy if you do it, or it's easier if you do it in sections like this. Nice even application. Don't forget to get the sides and without touching the back of it. You'll do the back separately once you've completely done the front. So you've got your even layer of glue. Like, you really don't want that. Have it nice and smooth. And then pour the sand on like that. Being sure to get underneath the arms. And you can see I missed a spot. So be really careful, because it's much, much harder to correct when you've missed a spot like that. I'll probably have to re-glue the whole torso area so that it comes out even. But that's basically how you do it. And then, of course, you take your leftover sand and you pour it back in the jar and you reuse it. So in the previous video, I showed you this doll and explained to you how I got this really lovely surface. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about how you can get a really extra fine, smooth surface on your doll without showing the paper through or colors or whatever, but as an all-white piece by covering her completely with paper clay, just using small pats and dipping your fingers in water and thinly applying the paper clay throughout her body. You'll then, once she is dry, sand her completely with a medium grit sandpaper, and then use a fine grit sandpaper, and then use an extra fine grit sandpaper. Once you've completely sanded her, and you'll be doing a lot of sanding, dip a soft watercolor brush in water and brush her with water. This helps pat down the little fibers. And then apply a thin, watery white acrylic paint, or you can spray prime her. And she should be nice and smooth and ready for whatever you're going to do with her.